Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach and author of Food Truck 101, Beginner to Winner. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Yesterday, I talked a lot about the supply chain issues that we're all seeing, the shortages on everything from the boats we serve our food in to the actual food in some cases. So today, I'm going to talk about some things you can do to help yourself get through the shortages that I think will be happening for at least the next year or so. One of the things I want to talk to you about is going to be how to eliminate menu fatigue. Menu fatigue is when your loyal guests get kind of tired of the food you're serving. Restaurants and food trucks should combat this by adding what's called a limited time only special, or an LTO. And that's when you bring in a product that you know you're only going to sell for a few weeks or a couple of months with the complete intention of that product going away. What it does for you on the marketing side is it gives you new product to talk about, to bring in new people to try the food, and then hopefully they come back again to try the rest of your menu. It also helps the people that eat with you frequently to have something new to try. So what you can do to break menu fatigue without adding on new products, because remember the products are going to be harder to find, you can look at what's already on your ingredient list and then prepare it in a different manner. You can look at vegetables, for instance, and then blister them, or pickle, ferment. You can do a lot of different things with certain meats, vegetables, and cheeses to create a different flavor without you going out and buying something new. And then you could put this new product you've created on your sandwiches or on your other food items that you offer to give it a different taste and a different feel for your guest. So that'll help you eliminate menu fatigue. You can also look at expanding protein options, and that can help you offset the supply shortages that you have and perhaps even offset some of your higher food costs. What you can look at is things like Denver steak, beef cheeks, flat iron steak, top sirloin filet, oxtails, beef tongue, shoulder tender, pig's ears, and then chicken livers. Those are all different kinds of meats that a lot of people just totally avoid. But when they're cooked and prepared properly, they have a great benefit, as a lot of them are very neutral and they'll pick up whatever flavors and seasonings you add to them. So they can help to extend some of the other supplies that you have. So for instance, if you're making tacos, you can cook the meat and braise it down, make it nice and soft and tender, but you're adding in the seasonings you normally do to give it the same flavor as the other meats it would have been using in the past. So look at ways you can get into the offcuts that are going to be much less expensive as a way to either replace some of the meats on your menu or to use it to extend the meats that are on your menu. You can also look into plant-based products. Now, we all know beef and chicken and those replacements are super expensive, but there's also opportunities for plant-based fish or seafood, and then pork, which gives you the room to innovate and create some new products or some extensions of the products that you do have. Another thing you can do when you have cooked some of these meats down and they're super, super soft and tender is you could add nuts or seeds to give it a little bit of texture or crunch. And you got to remember that nuts and seeds are popular in a whole bunch of different cuisines around the world. And it's just one more way for you to extend the proteins and add a little bit of texture. And you can always use your imagination. You can replace beef with seafood when you're creating a meatball dish. You can, instead of using chicken for chicken waffles, you can make deep fried veggies, but they're in the style of fried chicken, so it's got the breading and the batter. And that can go with the waffles and still create a really good taste without you having to be worried about finding more proteins. Now, to go along with all these meats that I mentioned, there's different ways of cooking them. And there's a whole bunch of different ways you can cook on your food truck. You can steam, you can blanch, you can sear, you can braise, you can poach, you can roast, you can grill, you can pressure cook, you can hot smoke, cold smoke, sous vide, ceviche. There's a lot of different ways to cook and handle the vegetables and to handle the meat. You're just going to have to look into what makes sense for your particular setup. You have choices. Look into them. You're not locked into just what you're doing now. You can look into inexpensive equipment, so don't think you've got to buy some super expensive piece of equipment. You can go out and get a pressure cooker. Now, that's the old-time name for an Instapot. That's all an Instapot is a pressure cooker. And you can get those for sometimes $50, $60, $70. Or you can get a big one for a couple of $100. But the idea is that pressure cooking will take some of those really tough pieces of meat, and when it's done properly, can put a whole bunch of flavor into it in a short amount of time and breaks the meat down so it's nice and tender the way you would want to serve it, say in a taco or a pulled pork sandwich or something along those lines. So don't think you're just locked into what you got and you have to complain about the lack of selection and people running out of stuff that you want to buy for your food truck, take the bull by the horns and you look into other ways of you being able to sell products that are delicious that you would be proud to serve. You just have to expand your knowledge base just a little bit. Now, along with the food that we're talking about, you're going to have to look into making your business more appealing to guests as they come to your food truck. For example, restaurants are getting into curbside pickup. Restaurants are into more and more delivery. Some restaurants are hitting 50% of their sales being delivery. So food truck owners, the smart ones at least, are going to look into those things. How can we mimic what the restaurants are doing to get more people coming to eat our food? So for curbside service, all you need is an app or an online ordering system, and people can order, drive to your food truck, then let you know that they're there, and you can walk the food out to them, give them that curbside service. Delivery is the same way. You can get on all the third-party delivery apps. And before you turn off the podcast and say, oh, that's too expensive, he has no idea what he's talking about, you can mathematically make up for the delivery fees. So when somebody clicks on your app or your ordering page and they say, we want to have it delivered, when they click delivery, it takes them to a new ordering page with a new menu and new prices. All those prices would include the delivery fee. And how you mathematically cover the delivery fee, the 30% is not how much you raise your prices by. Mathematically, it needs to be raised about 42%. When you raise it 42% and then the delivery company takes away their 30%, you're left with your original price, your original menu price. So it can be done. You just have to understand how the math works on it. But you need to look into those seriously, or you could even start your own delivery service. Hire an employee that's going to do all the delivery for you. But you got to get in competition with those restaurants. You got to get in competition with other food trucks that are embracing technology and moving their business forward. Food truck owners are going to need to streamline all of their processes because we already know it's hard to find good help. And now it's going to be even harder to find good help because people are not coming back to the entry-level positions that we would offer because they're looking at getting jobs everywhere. They're looking at not going to a restaurant. They're looking at getting the big money from doing menial work at Amazon and moving packages around. They're looking for different types of work where they're going to have benefits and make more money than they could at a restaurant or even on a food truck. So you got to streamline your processes. You got to look at your prep list. You got to look at how you cook things. You got to look at the flow of work when you're in service. Does everything flow in one direction? Can you get the food to a guest without making 2 or 3 steps back and forth or making a 360 every time to pick up a piece of cheese? You have to make sure the workflow is smooth so that you can go through the line of guests quicker and hopefully with less employees. But you've also got to get yourself out of the Stone Age. You've got to get technology. You've got to have kitchen display screens. You don't need to be handwriting tickets. You got to save every second that you can because every second that you save is 1 second you're not having to pay an employee to do something. It's a little bit more money in your pocket, but it's also a more streamlined workflow to get the food out to your guests quicker. A couple more ideas you can do. Think about salt or sugar or sodium or fat. All of those things add flavor. Think about spices. Think about ways you can up the flavor in your food when you're using those offcuts and those unusual cuts in the way that you're going to have to cook them. A lot of the meats that I mentioned earlier are neutral and they take on flavor in a great way. So it's up to you to expand your cooking horizons a little bit. But always remember to do those 4 things. You're looking at fat, spices, salt, and sugar. Those add flavor. Those add that lip smacking, oh my God, I got to lick my fingers attitude. Look at spice blends. Don't be afraid to use, salt cured meats or salt cured fish, salt forward sauces and condiments. Anything that's going to help you kick up the flavor, especially when you're dealing with those offcuts. Think about the appearance of your food. More than ever now, your food has got to look absolutely awesome because restaurant chains are buying food trucks to deliver their food. So you're going to have competition from well-known chains that could actually pull up and park right beside of you. So your food has got to look more generous. It's got to have a better appearance than the stuff they're going to put out. Because whatever they put out is going to be exactly the same stuff they put out in the restaurant. And we all know that you can beat the appearance if you just take a little bit of time to practice and get good at your assembly process, whatever your food is. Because you can be blazingly fast and it still look great. But you got to practice making it look great. You got to have that standard in your DNA to make things look good. So remember, the scrumptious appearance, the taste, the mouthfeel, all of those things add up to a great experience for your guest. So even though we're facing challenges of not being able to find the meat that we want, and we're not being able to find the paper supplies that we want, we still have to deliver an awesome experience for those guests. You just got to get out, have that second and third and fourth source of all of your different products. We talked yesterday about locally sourcing things. You're going to have to get up and go out and talk to people, because I can promise you that there are a whole bunch of other small businesses in the same boat as you, and they might welcome you saying, hey, I would love to buy 100 pounds of meat from you every week, because that's going to be one less thing they have to stress over. And if they have that guarantee from you that you're going to buy a certain amount every week or every couple of weeks, they're going to give you preferential treatment over just the random person that walks in and say, hey, give me 5 pounds of hamburger. So do some work. Get out there and make your business what you want it to be. Don't wait on the government. Don't wait on the competition. You control your destiny. If you guys are enjoying the podcast, please consider hitting the support button or follow the links in the description and offer any show of support you can. Every little bit does help keep us going. If you love being around like-minded, positive people, check out our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. There you're going to find a ton of information, a ton of inspiration, and we have just an absolutely awesome membership. I want to give a special thank you to Chad from our group, our Facebook group. He's the one that suggested that I talk about the supply chains. So I wanted to make sure I just gave a little shout out to Chad. Thank you so much. If any of you guys have a question you want me to answer or a topic you want me to discuss, just give me a shout on the Facebook group and I will look into it and make a podcast to cover whatever your question is. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'll be back next week with a whole nother series of topics.